This video explains the basic concept and features of the S92 flight planning workbook. There's no reference given here to any company or client since this is available in the public domain, and the aircraft used here is a fictitious aircraft, Alpha Bravo Charlie. All the performance figures though are from the Sikorsky iFly app and the Sikorsky S92 rotorcraft flight manual, and also the 1% climb gradient graphs. Starting from the top to explain the features, they are fairly self-explanatory. Here, each aircraft has its own workbook. This is for Alpha Bravo Charlie, but there are two options here. You can also choose blank, which would enable you to print a blank flight record sheet, which we'll look at in just a minute. But for now, this is Alpha Bravo Charlie selected. Various different configurations are available, of course. APS 1 changes the APS weight here. For now, we're going to use APS 2. Today's date is given here, or a different date can be selected if required. I'll leave it today's date. And provision here is provided to enable this to be used for other aircraft types as well, of course. All the details for the aircraft APS weights are obviously held in the database, as could any other aircraft be held as well. This is the APS weight. The pilot 1 and pilot 2 is added there. There's provision for jump seat and passenger, SAR crew, etc., and any equipment. And these are the various equipment positions in the aircraft. So if I was to put 20 pounds in the section D3, the zero fuel weight adjusts, and maybe 15 pounds in area D5. Once again, you can see the figures adjusting there. I'll just set everything up for a standard flight though. And we're going to be looking at a flight plane going from Broome to Lombardina, and then on to the ENSCO 5006, and then direct back to Broome again. Flight number would be something like H5061A, and the category is obviously commercial air transport. You can see the provision there says to put figures in for 6 sectors, up to 6 sectors. Today we're going to be using 3, of course. And this here is for invoicing purposes. This is a figure that increments by 1 every time this workbook is opened. This means that a record can be kept of all the invoices for this particular aircraft. Look at that in a minute as well. I'm just going to put some names in here, of course. First of all, the life jackets here. There's provision to choose life jackets, either no life jackets, and it changes the zero fuel weight there, or Mark 28s, or Mark 50s, and we'll go for Mark 50s there. Let's change the weight there. Passengers, just names out of the blue, of course, usual standard names, anonymous names. And I'm just going to go from Broome, where the temperature is 31 degrees, QNH is 1008. Elevation is 57 feet, and it's worked out a restricted takeoff weight there. Now, as well as that, if I put in a low SAF altitude of 1500 feet, it compares the 1% climb gradient graph weight to the category weight from the flight manual, and puts the lowest figure in there. You can see here, of course, as well, you can apply weight penalties. So if there was a winch attached, say 120 pounds, that could be applied there, and the figure is reduced there. Once again, I'll just make it a standard flight, and you can see that we've got provision to either depart offshore or onshore, or to depart with the client requirements here, or a manual entry. We're going to be departing onshore. These boxes here are going to be used later when we get the manifest. And here I'm going to put down the first landing point, which is Lombardina, where the temperature is 32 degrees, QNH is 1009, elevation is 155 feet, and that works out the pressure, altitude, and the weight. And once again here, I could be choosing an offshore option or onshore option. This is the figure given here. Now, this box here can be used if it's required to land at this particular weight, and then this would appear in the flight record sheet as the landing weight, add the fuel burn flying out to whatever destination, and that would give the takeoff weight. So you'd arrive at this weight. this box here enables all these details to be carried forward, so now the Lombardina is going to be carried forward to the next departure point. Let's have a look at that then. Sector 2. We're now landing at Lombardina, departing from Lombardina. And let's run through all the options again. We've got Mark 28 life jackets. Departing onshore. Low self altitude is 1700 feet. There's no weight penalty for this one. I'm still waiting for the figures for these parts here. We're going to do some flight planning to arrive at a total fuel weight in a minute, and then these are the manifest figures. Sector 2, we're going to go to the ENSCO 5006, where the temperature is 28 degrees. QNH is 1010. Elevation is, say, 73 feet, just making up these numbers. And once again, this time we're going to be landing offshore. Details carried forward to the next sector. We now see the ENSCO 5006. And this time we're going to be landing back at Broome. Temperature is 32 degrees, say. QNH 1009. Elevation is 57 feet. That gives the pressure altitude, and we're landing onshore. Okay. Let's go make sure these are all selected correctly here. Mark 50 life jackets. Departure offshore this time. You can see the provision if there was a climb requirement that could be used there, or a manual entry. Okay, the manual entry, if I was to choose that, it would say what weight do you want. If I've worked out 26,200, that would go in there. But for now, though, I'm going to use the actual graph weight from the rotorcraft flight manual. Departure offshore. Okay, let's just go back to review these, make sure everything's in place. Sector 1. Sector 2. And Sector 3. Okay, that's all there. I'll just reset Sector 1 there. And you can see now that I can move on to now the flight planning page. This is standard flight planning page that we use. You can see that already the details entered for Alpha Bravo Charlie. If I'd selected blank at the beginning there, this would all be blank, so this could just be printed out as a blank form. Okay, let's have a look at some flight planning then. This just allows any option to be looked at, and then the weight extracted from to enter here at the fuel calculation section. We're going to go from Broome to Lombardina. The track is 022, distance is 95 miles. True airspeed is going to be 135 knots. And for every true airspeed there's a different fuel flow. In this case the fuel flow is 1350. These cells are just entered into as you would do manually. So the lowest air altitude 2200, 5,000 feet. Just two numbers here. 120 is making numbers up for the wind, etc. of course, and does the fuel calculation. Lombardina. We're now going to the ENSCO 5006. You can see that as soon as I enter the ENSCO 5006, it's asking for the Latin longitude. And the concept here is that because the ENSCO 5006 is a movable rig, every time it's you want to enter the 5006 or any other movable location into these boxes here, it'll ask for the Latin long. And that's the safety feature, the position is checked every time. There's the format I need to enter in, so 13 degrees, 49.5, just making this up, south, fairly typical position, 123 degrees, 12.8 east, variation of 3 east, and there are the figures. Lowest air altitude 1700 feet, we're going to go at 5,000 feet. 120 knots, we might choose to go to 15 instead. And then from the ENSCO 5006 back to Broome. And this is 2,200 feet here. This is the low SAF altitude, 6,000 feet. And we'll make the wind, we decided the wind is 150 at 20 knots. So there are the figures. Now to actually work out the fuel, standard practice if you like. We're going to go from Lombardina. This next leg we're going to go from Lombardina to the ENSCO 5006. And we need an alternate sector there, so I'll just come back to that. We need to go from the ENSCO 5006 to Lombardina. And 1700 feet, 6,000 feet. And we were saying we're going to use 120 at 15, say. We could look at any other alternative here as well, of course. This allows for any other possibilities that we want to look at to investigate the best payload. YTST is Truscott. And I'm not quite sure what the lowest SAF altitude is there. I think it's something like 3,000 feet actually, but I'll just put a figure in there. And 5,000 feet. That might not be right, that low SAF altitude, I'm just making that up. And we'll say 120 at 20 again, just some figure. So now you can see that the options here, I can look at a payload of possibility of going to the ENSCO Lombardina to ENSCO number 2 with ENSCO Lombardina, or I could go Truscott. Look at the two different possibilities. You can see straight away that the ENSCO with the Lombardina option is probably better. Although, let's see, we can look at maybe the possibility of Lombardina with a fixed reserve 550. You can see how these cells are just entered into manually by tabbing through them. Look at the payload, the figures there for that fuel would be 4143, and you can compare that to if we use Truscott without a any holding. And you can see that even Lombardina with holding is a better option than Truscott. But these are sort of things that you can investigate or plan. So I'm going to come back to Lombardina, and I should have put that as holding, beg your pardon, that last figure, that 550. What we're going to do now is we'll put the 550 in here. That's why I should have put that, beg your pardon, 550. So that's fixed reserve 550, the holding that's there. We might want to put rig running as well, 150. And then there's taxi fuel to go in here, 100, 100. So now, going back to what I was saying before, there's the figure for departing to Lombardina to the ENSCO with Lombardina as the alternate, with a holding option there. Let's take out the holding and see how that compares to going to Truscott, for example. And you can see the difference there. It's obviously still better to go to Lombardina. Okay. That's what we're going to choose with holding. And then coming back is going to be, let's go to Broome, number 3. And there might be some holding at Broome. And you can see the figure there going directly back. There's also one here going back to Lombardina. So if I was to make that 4, we can look at the payload going to Lombardina as well to get the direct or the payload through Lombardina. For now, I'm just going to make it direct to Broome. Okay, so these are the figures required for those sectors. Now I'm going to enter those into the first page again. First of all, raise that to £1,700. Based on the nearest 100 if you like. So sector 1 we said £1,700 was the fuel weight. £1,700. And sector number 2, you can see that's gone in there to give a payload. We'll make that 49.50. Sector 2, fuel weight 49.50. And let's say we'll have 1,000 pounds in the ox tank. That's in there, so there it shows the 49.50 there. And then for the third sector, what did we say the fuel was there required was 3720, so to make it 3750. Third sector 3750. And we won't have any fuel in the ox tank. I'll leave that blank. So now you can see that I'm obviously restricting payload is 2604 figure there. For the purposes of the MSLS, let's say that although we know that the minimum, we've worked out the minimum fuel for sector 1, we're actually going to refuel to 4,000 pounds. So the fuel we're actually going to take off with is 3,800 pounds, so we can get the CFG correct. And we'll have 1,000 pounds in the ox tank. That's a fairly typical situation, and that was reflected back in the flight record sheet here. So all the performance figures are there. It's worked out. It's got the zero fuel weight figures from the database. There's the various disposable loads. There's the fuel loads. And there's the payloads. Now we're going to use this payload here for the first two legs because that's the more restrictive, as we normally do, standard practice. So let's go to look at that part of it. It was going to be 2604, and so there is provision to put that in here. 2604. 2604. And it's not used on a big screen, this is just on my laptop here. This is designed though to be used on the mini iPad as well. This could be used equally on a mini iPad, and all the numbers, and then this could be synced to a printer on arrival back at base. This third sector, or to sync to a printer, or actually sent to any drive, a network drive position. The last payload offered is 4115. 4115. Okay. Sector 1's there, Sector 2, Sector 3. And you can see what's happening here. The actual flight report is being gradually filled in. The flight numbers, they actually start at 1A and go to 1B, 1C. They're the destinations. This is the payload offer, and there's the crew. And the numbers are going to be entered shortly. Company XXX, whatever. And there's while we're there, just to look at the actual standard weights could be selected here, and the requirement to put this in to show that the captain has certified the aircraft correctly within CFG limits. Now let's go back to Sector 1, and we've now got the manifest, so we can look at the passenger numbers. Going to be going out with 9 passengers. 9 passengers. Passenger weight is 1776. And what's required here is, from the manifest, the heaviest and lightest passenger, because what's going to happen is the workbook will distribute the weight of the passengers evenly throughout the aircraft to approximate, if you like, but to a very close approximation to the most forward and the most aft CFG position. You can see now I've got the passenger numbers of 9, heaviest and the lightest. Because we know the numbers, would know the numbers at this stage for the first 2 sectors, I can put that in for the next sector as well. 91776. Heaviest is 230, and the lightest is 175. And I should have put actually baggage weight. I'll just make 120, and freight weight of 10, just to put some numbers in there. And there's baggage weight of 120, freight weight of 10 there as well. That's the first 2 sectors. Now the next, in practice, of course, Sector 3 we wouldn't know about until we got the figures from offshore, so this could all be done on a mini iPad to work out the CFG. And I'll demonstrate how that works. Sector 1, we've got all the figures in there. We can look at the most forward CFG, and you can see that this distributes the weight of the passengers from the heaviest to the lightest, and you notice the weight is relates to the passengers actually wearing life jackets at the moment. The weight is added to the passenger weight. The weight of the life jacket is added to the passenger weight, and the remaining life jackets are entered here onto the baggage bay. shelf. If I was to have the passengers not wear life jackets for whatever reason, you can see that the actual basic figures are there without the life jackets, and the jacket weight is added to the baggage bay shelf. Obviously we'd have the passengers wearing life jackets, and up here it shows the C of G position. Well within limits. I can look at the most aft C of G position, and you can see that it's getting closer to the limit. So we'd choose the most forward C of G position, which you can see is 350.9. So when I go to the flight record sheet, we'll see that there, C of G is entered, whichever one was last selected. So if I was to do the most aft C of G and get back to the flight record, this is now 359.5. That would appear there. Let's go to the most forward, and that's the one well within limits. And now let's go for sector 2. I've put the weights of the passengers in already, so we can look at the most forward C of G. 351.4, because we've got a different fuel weight this time. It's well within limits. Most aft, just on the edge, so we'd load the most forward. And that's 351.4, which now shows on the flight record sheet there. Now, in practice, sector 3, we'd have this on a mini iPad, and the passenger weight, the manifest, would be given to us. And I'm just going to make up some figures again. Now they've said there's 10 passengers going back. Passenger weight is 2006. You look at the manifest and deduce that the heaviest passenger is 240. And the lightest passenger is 165. The payload officer's there. This time the baggage is 130, and cargo weight is say 12, something like that. Once again, we look at the most forward C of G for that situation, and it says 351.5. The most aft 360.2. So I'll go through those forward situation again. And there it's all there. Okay, so that's all ready to go. That's ready to print out, or that'll be ready to print out on arrival back at base. And here you can see this is fully functioning here as well. If I take the fuel, if I took a fuel state of, say, if we had 4,500 pounds in the aircraft, we're arriving with 3,600. This is taken from the FMS, and the fuel at the alternate was 1,850. It would then work out the minimum fuel departing the destination and the fuel margin. Okay, so that's ready to be printed out, and you can see there's a print out option at the top there. Going back to the MSLS, the end of the flight, the numbers can be put in here. Let's say we got airborne at 0702 and landed at Lombardina at 0750, 48 minutes. And then we took off again at 0820 and landed at 0915. Let's have a look at that. Down to that. Okay. Let's make that 09, a more reasonable figure. 0930. While we're on this, you can see that if I put some crazy figure in, if I made a mistake, say 0810, it throws up a warning. So you can't make any mistakes with the numbers. So 0940. And then after refuel, it's 1010, and back to room at 12. Well, what's some reasonable figure? 1155. Provision is there to put in the start times. The start time 0645, and stop time was at 12:15, so something like that. So you can see that everything's put in here. The fuel can be put in here. We could put in the fuel at Lombardina, 1,400 litres. At the ENSCO 50066, 700 litres, something like that. So you can see this can now be printed out. All the numbers are worked out, and this is simply printed out as a DFR. Now the whole point about this is that obviously there's a means of saving this to file, and if it's saved to file, that means that it can be used for invoicing purposes. And the way to do this is use this button here, save and exit. So if I press save and exit now, you'll see what's happened. This is, shows file there, and the program closes down. So this particular version, it's been sent to a directory on my laptop here, the public directory, and you can see that it's H50061A VH ABC1001. I can bring that up again if I want to review anything. Here it comes, and there's all the figures we were just looking at. So this could be printed as much as wanted, as needed to, all the COGs reviewed, etc. So I'm just going to go save and exit again. Now you'll notice that it was the invoice number was 1001 there. So now if I open up the flight plan again, just waiting for it to open. It's now incremented to 1002. And let's just do something here. Let's start another program. Smith, now 2 pilots back again, and then we departed and YBRM. We're about to do all this stuff, and then it was decided that that flight's not going ahead. It's been cancelled. It was a mistake, and you wanted to get out of it. Mistake you could correct, but let's say the flight's been cancelled, so you don't want to use this anymore. We're going to cancel and exit. Now notice it's 1002 there. We're going to cancel and exit. And then when I come back in again, waiting for it to come up, it comes back in again as 1002. So using these buttons here, the invoicing numbers are always kept correct. The last part of the program is there is provision here for a performance calculator if one wanted to actually work out some numbers aside from the actual planning for the flight. This can be done independently here by putting in the elevation, QNH, etc. And that is the basic concept behind the S92 flight planning workbook.